Just three regular guys with a podcast.
Why is it a big deal, though? Like, I don't understand why. Like, what is...
Because I didn't think you knew anybody.
Who can laugh at each other's expense.
And right there, my knee was just...
Who have the utmost confidence in each other's athletic abilities.
Sub 5.
You're a sub 5 on one of them little tricycles with the little bleep bleep air horns on the...
And whose guests absolutely love joining them on the show.
What are your thoughts on that?
You got some nerve really asking me.
The Choopin' It Up podcast starts in 3, 2, 1.
Gentlemen, it's been... Yeah.
That intro just puts you right back
I'll tell
into
you
it.
what.
In the zone.
Like we never
Like
left.
we never left.
old.
It's been
It
it's been 3
doesn't
minutes.
get
Three
old.
months or so, but...
When was the last one we had? Like,
Can't
what
tell you episode
three of us
number.
together?
Yeah.
Like the last one, the
oh,
three of
God.
us were together.
Wow.
That's a good point.
2 months?
I don't even remember what we talked about the
I
last
feel like
time.
I forget what you look like. Although we
I'll tell you what.
did golf like 2
I am
weeks
the
ago.
African
Right.
that you can just not get enough of. I'll tell you. Yeah, man. Black don't crack. I'll tell you that.
We
Russell looks good, and he passed them jeans down to me.
did. Shout out Russell.
Thanks, Russell. Big Rusty.
Well then.
First off, want to
Anyway.
start by saying great shirt. Great shirt you got.
Thank you.
Choop 2020.
Thank you.
You too.
More.
I like the flamingos.
Yeah, I think you're...
I thought we were going to be on the deck. You need to relax, bud.
I'm sorry. We're in
Jesus
2022. I forgot. Forgot. My bad. My bad.
Need you to be a little more open-minded.
Come on. Like a certain topic we might talk about later in the show. We got to be
Just call me.
open-minded.
Just
Yeah.
call me them, okay?
Is that like a pronoun one? What
Yeah,
did you
that
say?
Yeah, you got
yeah,
that one.
yeah.
Okay, that one went.
All right, we're going off the rails real quick here to start the show.
Start the show. Episode. Yeah,
We'll get back to you
We'll
later.
get back to you.
Hooper will figure it out in production.
Boys, what's been up?
Life, man.
Crazy
Life.
summer.
Life.
A lot happening in the NBA right now.
Sporting news, NBA. So we haven't done this in a while. Draft, summer league, free agency, big stars
We
want
went through
trades.
all of it.
Yeah.
Training camp right around the corner.
Where do you want to start?
Oh, man, we can go with the draft first. We'll go draft summer league.
Okay, so summer
Then
league
we
guys.
can go
Summer,
to
we'll go
free agents.
not summer league. So summer league is in progress wherever Vegas. The big guys that have been going on, obviously the top 3 picks. You know,
Murray,
Holmgren,
Banchero. Holmgren.
Banchero, and Jabari Smith. So I want to get your thoughts. Chet Holmgren, I have my thoughts. Obviously, for the Oklahoma City Thunder, I believe he was the number 2 overall pick out of Gonzaga.
Mm-hmm.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I only saw
He-
him play
he-
one.
He started
Little
off
bit
the
again.
summer league with a big performance. I think he had like 23,
I think he was
6
close
blocks.
to like a triple-double, something like that. Crazy.
And then I think he followed it up with a second one where he had 11. But he had the dude from Louisiana Tech. I forget his name.
Kenny
Lofton
Jr.?
Lofton. He reminded me of Zach Randolph.
Yeah.
Doesn't get off the ground
He-
much.
like you said, he's a very
bullies.
Zach Randolph-ish, but
yes, and he's with the Grizzlies. Right?
No, I don't know where he's at, but he's very
know.
fundamental. He has a great feel for the game. He, like you said, he's not very
He's
athletic.
not going to
but
athlete.
he's going to put the ball in the bucket. He's
Yeah.
going to figure out a way to maneuver his body, maneuver you to get you to a spot that he's going to put the ball in the bucket.
But I feel like what he did was I don't remember. I
He
think
can shoot a little bit.
I think Holmgren started off with the Jazz, and I think I looked at their roster, the talking heads that have more publicity than we do. Yeah, it's just But talked about, they showed they showed whatever the graphic of their roster where it was a bunch of undrafted guys on the Utah Jazz for the summer league, like not anybody who will be on an NBA roster
names
for the
that you're
most.
gonna
Like,
know, yeah.
And then the next day, I think he played. I want to say it's the Grizzlies. Who did Zach Randolph spend most of his career with? Because I'm pretty sure it's the
Grizzlies.
Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was the Grizzlies, and Lofton bullied them. But I think the big thing is, and I think a lot of people thought about Chet Holmgren coming in, is he's very thin. He's tall,
Yeah,
athletic, can handle the
Can
ball.
his frame handle the
Right.
type of physicality of the NBA game?
Very, very thin.
Very weak.
So
Right.
Kenny Lofton went at him, scored. It's really tough to see how he's gonna, do when Giannis Antetokounmpo is driving down the lane and is just going right at him. You
right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know how much of you guys have seen or kept up on the summer league, but I know the Magic already shut down Paolo Banchero. They saw enough from him
really?
in 2 or 3 games. They're like,
Okay.
we're
He got
good.
shut down, and Jaden Ivey also got shut down
Okay.
because he twisted his ankle. I saw that.
Okay.
And they're, as you know, they're very safe, and they want to they want their best players to be on the court. They're guys that they're paying their money to.
Yeah.
I'm actually really excited about Keegan Murray?
Keegan Murray. Yeah, he's
Keegan, yeah.
Is he
Keegan.
where do is he?
He's a
Nuggets.
Iowa. He's
No,
on
no,
the
I know
Sacramento.
Iowa. Sacramento,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, him and Halliburton.
Halliburton. Halliburton's gone. He's in
Indiana.
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 Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of Indiana,
Just signed.
Ayton.
Ayton.
Well,
Right, yesterday,
he's not
right.
confirmed signed.
The
Suns have
Suns aren't gonna
48
match
out.
it.
I think they are.
I
just
think they were
don't-
gonna let him walk. I'm pretty sure that's.
I think they're gonna match. I just don't know how you get to the finals or compete in the West right now without Ayton.
Without, yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I think you got to
think
keep
he would leave?
Ayton. Ayton?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. He's
Is
been
he
looking.
gonna leave?
He's
Yeah,
been looking
yeah.
for money for a long time. He was holding
No,
out.
no,
this
but
entire
no.
year.
I'm saying if the Suns match, you think he leaves?
If the Suns match, no,
Okay.
because he's going to make his money and he's going to
Right.
compete for a championship. He's only leaving because he
For the
wants to
money.
get his money.
Yeah. But
We
Some-
were talking about summer league, but I'm sorry.
Yeah. No.
Murray, I think, is very impressive. I think he kind of his shooting. I didn't think he was going to be that good of a shooter to come into the league, and he's actually been shooting pretty well.
Yeah, I've seen a couple, not highlights or anything, but Instagram NBA usually posts like the key rookies in the summer league. And I've
Ivy, I
seen
think,
he's
is gonna
had
be
a
a
couple.
stud too.
Ivy's gonna be
couple
I think
unreal.
Ivy's going to be his first step and his ability to get to the basket is only comparable, I think, to John Morant right now in the,
Yeah.
in the
Okay.
league. Yeah,
I was just gonna say, Ja.
yeah. He's very shifty and has such a quick first step and finishes around the rim very well.
And be honest, I kind of think he's a little. He may even be a touch more explosive than
You think?
Then
than
Morant?
Ja. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
That's.
I won't argue with you about that.
And I mean, you probably know you're a Big Ten guy, so you probably watched him more
Yeah,
than we have at
unfortunately.
Purdue. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, I mean he's a Purdue kid that I'd love to watch.
Yeah.
You know, it just sucked that he played for Purdue.
Right.
I imagine as an Indiana fan, you don't get that too often.
No. There aren't too many Purdue guys you like.
I haven't watched any. Obviously, he's the Duke fan. I haven't watched any of I tried to watch one of Banchero's games, but I think the one against Houston against
The one game I
Jabari.
did watch was against Murray, who was the number 4 or 5 pick.
Yeah.
And it went into double overtime.
Yeah.
And Banchero and Murray were just going at one another the whole game. Murray hit a big shot to send it into overtime. Pump fake. It was a great pump fake knowing how much time you have on the clock. Got 2 guys to fly by him, sunk the basket. And then they go into overtime, and him and those two just keep going at one another.
They're two really good. They're going to be really, really good pros. Like, this is a great class. That
Yeah.
came out.
Yeah.
Those first few picks.
Like I feel like it makes.
I mean,
Like-
even Chet. I think Chet gets a lot of backlash, kind of because of his frame. But if you look at him, I mean,
He's going to be able to hold his own. He's not going to.
you see the Dirk comparison a lot with him.
Yeah, he's not going to put up.
I don't
like,
think he's gonna get Dirk numbers.
I
'cause he's
mean,
not as
crazy numbers
physical.
for the first couple of years.
what he can do is impressive. Like he's got good handles for being 7'1", 7 foot. Like he's.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's going to be difficult to guard
But
him.
his
Like,
big
who
thing
do-
is,
who do you-
he's from college to the NBA. Like, he could block a bunch of shots. Here's the thing: he's not going to be as big of a presence down low. I think offensively, he's going to have a bigger impact than he is defensively because he's long. But you're going to get those teams. He
that
might
are
have
just gonna try to bully him to
that
an
are-
extent.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And can he slide and stay in front? Does he
Yeah,
have that
it's
lateral
just-
movement?
It's just tough. Someone's going to put their body into him, and he's going to go.
So we see the thing about Chet. And now I'm seeing a lot of teams, not a lot, but the few that I have seen is the Spurs Utah. There's one more. Who am I forgetting?
Are you going the kid from France?
The boy from France.
Dude, did you see the picture
Yeah.
of him
Standing next to
Chet?
Chet and then somebody else.
Dude, he's like 3 inches taller than Chet.
Yeah. Do you
This
know?
was like
Really? No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Victor,
Who that is.
what's his name? Victor
know. Tom, there's like-
Wembanyama or something? He's
he
like
was
from
like
France.
16.
Yeah, he's the guy.
He was like 16. He was playing like a 2-on-2 game with like Rudy Gobert and like somebody else, and he was working them.
Really?
Yeah.
Like it
Who's
was,
he playing for?
He's
He's
a French
French
team.
guy.
He'll be in the
Oh,
draft
oh,
this year. So it's
Oh,
like this
so
is
he's
who they're
another year out.
tanking for.
Yeah,
Okay.
like this. I think he makes the game look
But
simple.
like he handle like he
can
does all the
shoot,
stuff.
handle, pass.
He
a
does
little
all the
bit.
stuff that Chet does, but he's 7'3" or 4" instead of 7 foot.
Really?
Yeah, and he's from France, so I'm sure he's already like a pro in France, right?
Well,
Like,
that's the thing. Like you see with these guys from like international. Like you look at Luka Doncic, you look at Porzingis, you look at who else? Can't think of anybody else at the top of my head. But like you look at these guys from international school or these international teams, like they're brought up differently. They're looked at like playing more team basketball, like more schematics. Like we're gonna spread it out. We're gonna break you down. Like you look at USA, it's more like one-on-one. I'm gonna break you down and just let you know I'm better than you.
Right.
You know, like
Yeah.
these guys that are coming over from Spain, France, whatever, they're a little bit more NBA ready because they played in a pro system already.
and they played
Yeah.
against pros,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean that kind of goes to the what we'll talk about later in the show with the
With our guests that are
NIL,
joining us,
the NIL stuff. Like, you get the American way of coming up through basketball versus the European. It's an academy over there
Yes.
yeah.
built on developing
Fundamentals.
fundamental and not,
Another one you could say is Josh Giddey, who very much impressed me last year.
yeah.
When we watched the draft here, I'm
He's
like, who's this
only
guy? And
19. He's
Yeah.
only 19.
I saw him play a
Turned
couple
20.
summer league games for Oklahoma. What is he doing? He was a starter, had like
Yes.
9. Get him out of the summer league.
Yeah.
Keep
like,
him healthy.
He's
Yeah.
legit, right?
Yeah. But I just want to say I've said it before. I think I've said it to you. I might have said it on the show. So far with Banchero, I said at Duke, I think he was better. He was a more polished prospect at Duke than Tatum was. Now, I'm not going to say he's going to turn into Tatum on the NBA because Tatum, 6 years in, has already played for.
Tatum looks legit.
But if they develop the same, right? If he develops the same as Tatum, in 6 years he could be better than Tatum.
The
Yes.
thing about it, I can totally see him being better than Tatum. It's all about your situation and
It's
where you're
tough.
placed.
He's in Orlando.
Like
It's
you
tough.
look at Michael Beasley. Like, he got drafted to Miami. Couldn't handle the Miami lifestyle.
Yeah.
Fell off. You look at Steph Curry. If he might have not been at,
If he went to Tommy's New York Knicks,
is he the same player? Is he? Does he get his ankles checked out the way he does in San Francisco?
tough.
You know what I mean? Like,
Although I do kind of like Orlando. I said, he's in Orlando. That's kind of tough. But I do like what Orlando's doing. They got Cole Anthony.
Yeah.
Franz Wagner played pretty well.
Yeah.
Can't tell you who their coach is. But they have some good young pieces. I think they need that, veteran to kind of – because, these good young pieces, if they still stink in 3 years and their record, they're just going to go get paid and be on a better team. So, but
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. Other NBA news. This is the good stuff. I wanted to ask you because you're a big 76ers fan.
yeah.
I'm going to throw you a curveball before you go into the
Okay.
76ers
Go ahead.
thing. Either one of you, I'm not a big movie guy, but while I was away, I got to watch a movie or two. Have you watched Hustle yet?
No.
Oh, with Adam Sandler?
Yeah.
No, I heard
The
it's good though.
Sixers. It's pretty good.
Heard it's good.
Pretty good. I recommend it.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
76ers initially, was it James Harden needed to opt in? Is that what the deal was?
Originally opted in, and then
One.
they reconstructed after.
So if we got to this podcast before, I wanted to ask you how you felt about him opting in because it was a pretty big price
man.
tag, and he is just not the
Oh,
same.
how did he opt in, or how you feel when he opted in?
When he opted in, and it was
before
like
knowing
it was like
Yeah.
35.
He's gonna restructure.
Yeah,
It was like
before
35
knowing-
million or 40 million. Yeah. Now
Before knowing, I was really questioning it because he did not look like the James
he's
Harden
not.
of.
I mean,
And I think
Not even a year ago.
definitely not Houston, James.
Let's just say a year ago, he did not look like that explosive. I could take you off the dribble. I can keep you off balance. But even like 2 years ago, when he was like a stud, like getting to the free throw line almost 20 times a game, he did not look like that, and it was just questionable if he could be like that second guy, because that's what you are. When you come to Philly, like you're a second guy compared to Joel.
Yeah.
Because it's his team. It's his
He's the
city
guy.
right now. Yeah. Like you're playing through him.
If you have an MVP on the team, it's Joel.
Like he gets his to 20 to 25 touches a game. If not, we have a problem.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm happy that he
Now that he restructured.
came
Yeah.
back. We can kind of sign some guys.
It's what's he now? Like 30? Is he 33?
He's older. He's like, I want to say he's 36. No, he's not older.
No,
than
I don't
that.
think he's
maybe
34?
33,
34.
34. Yeah.
No, I know the big thing is like I've heard like he doesn't really take care of himself, so he's not really stringent on his diet. I mean, I think we've seen it like when he got himself
Brooklyn.
out of Houston,
Yeah,
and he
he had
was
the
like
fat suit
he
on
let
and
himself
everything,
he let
yeah.
himself go. But I think I've seen pictures of him. He looks like he's in shape now, and now he's instead of being 35 million, he's 22 million because he restructured.
Right.
Like that's as a Philly, I imagine you're in a little better
Oh,
headspace.
absolutely. Right.
And they could sign some guys, and they still have Joel, who is your guy.
I mean, I think we still need another piece. I don't know who you go get now.
Did you get you guys have PJ Tucker? They signed him. That's a
We
thing.
did sign PJ.
That's a good
PJ,
signing.
That's a great sign. He's a great role guy, great
Yeah.
locker room guy, great motivator.
His teams seem to be in the conference finals championship because he's always that last piece to it
Right.
to put you over the top.
Yeah.
On the bench.
I do.
Off the bench.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Who I really wanted them to go get was Bradley Beal. That was like an ideal guy.
Is he still with Washington?
He just signed the player max for Washington, so he's locked in. He's actually the only player to have a no trade clause in his deal too, which I thought was crazy.
Good for him.
The thing about it is every team that the Sixers want to trade with or try to go and get a guy, they're not giving up Maxey. Sixers are not giving up Tyrese Maxey. He's a great point guard. He's a solid point guard. He could be the future. He could be like another AI guy to an extent. They're not giving up Maxey. So the next thing is who can we go get that can kind of complement James and Joel? And now it's spot up shooters, 3 and D guys. That's what you need. So you need like TJ Warren, who they might go get. They got PJ Tucker, now the 3 and D.
PJ Tucker's got to be like 37
And
years
he's
old
a
at this
stud,
point.
and
It's still
he's a
playing, yeah.
Stud. What I would love for them to go and get Mikal Bridges off Phoenix.
Okay.
He would be a phenomenal guy to come back to Philly. He's a Villanova guy. Your Knicks signing Jalen Brunson, I think that was huge for that conference.
Yeah.
And in the Donovan Mitchell
But-
conversations.
And now in the Donovan Mitchell, which is huge because you need that big name in a big city like that.
They need a guy.
They do.
Right.
They
They
haven't
need
had
that
a guy
What's
since
it?
Melo.
Yeah.
RJ
And RJ's
RJ
not
Barrett's
gonna-
he's ascending, but he's never
Yeah.
gonna be. He's
I
not
don't
gonna be
think-
Melo.
I don't think RJ.
Yeah.
I think RJ Barrett.
He's a good
is
number
gonna
two.
Be like Andrew
To a
Wiggins to an extent.
Number
Like,
2 to a
Right.
Donovan
Like
Mitchell.
he can't
yeah.
be the guy,
Yes.
but if he was to kind of be like the second or third option, I think he
He's
could
gonna
be
flourish, though.
Yes, absolutely. And look at Andrew Wiggins, how he flourished in his situation in San Francisco. Finally became not the main option. His shooting percentage went up. His 3-point percentage went up. His usage went down a little bit, and his efficiency went up. How can you argue those stats right there? You can't.
You can't.
I'd love to see what's going to happen with KD and Kyrie.
That's
I mean,
KD's
the big
done.
thing.
He's
I
sunk.
don't
Yeah.
know what KD
Sunk.
does at this point because
this is the big one.
this is
It's
really
trouble.
they're asking for too much. They want like 2 All-Stars and like 4 or 5 first-round draft picks out of it. And there no team unless you're trying to win right now.
It's you can't trade that, right? So if you get KD, it's because you think you can win a championship. You can't trade 2
So they-
All-Stars and win a championship.
Like the team they're asking was like, for example, the Timberwolves. So the Timberwolves are supposed to give up Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards, their future.
Yeah.
The only 2 guys that they can rely on, and they're going to give those up to the Nets.
yeah.
I read something that
How about them
the
getting
Nets-
Gobert though?
the Nets owner doesn't care, is done over finished with KD, right? And to the point, I think what I saw, what I read was he's willing to just
Wipe his hands of it.
just pay him out. Pay.
And just tell him to go?
Sit on the bench. No. No.
He's at that point?
Sit. Waste a year of your life.
But, well, I mean, what?
Sit. Because why else?
What
Nobody in their reasonable mind is making trade demands like that.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
So they're already showing that we're going to ask for outlandish deals that no one's going to consider. Sorry, stud, we tried trading and nobody will bite.
Well, think about this.
Or they'll humiliate them and get them for like a 5th-round pick.
Yeah.
It's only 2 rounds in the draft.
I don't think Kyrie helped the whole situation at all either.
Yeah, they're just a mess.
Because Kyrie, during the beginning of the season, I'm not getting the vaccination, and then you just didn't know what you're getting from Kyrie, and I think that's what made KD lean the way he did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
In the midseason, you trade James because he's just not
James
what you
isn't
think.
into it.
Yeah.
Right. And, I mean, who was it? I'm trying to think who the hell it was that I was listening to.
It's kind of hard to have those three on the team when they're all ball-dominant guys.
Yeah,
true.
and they said that at this point now, it's on Harden.
Yes.
You've played with everybody.
Yeah.
And you're the common denominator
of why you're not
now
winning, right?
of all these problems. Like from a chemistry standpoint.
You're saying it's on Harden because he's...
Yeah.
So, yeah, when you're Houston
You had
and you're
issues
the
with
guy...
Russ.
Yeah.
Well, did you hear about what happened with Kyrie and Nash?
No.
So, supposedly, I don't know how true this is, Steve Nash had like a team dinner at his house, and everybody was there, and Kyrie kept going up to him and asking him, "Can I see Kobe's MVP that you have?"
Oh, yeah, I did hear that.
From the 08, 09 season.
When he
or
won it back-to-back or whatever
when
with
Steve Nash won
Phoenix.
it back-to-back. Kyrie kept taking shots at him, saying let me see Kobe's MVP that you have.
Steve Nash
and then Steve Nash and Kyrie had a fallout, and that's why they're trying to get rid of Kyrie at this point.
But back to Kevin Durant's trade demands. Kevin Durant's 34, 35. So if
would you say KD is the best player in the league at this point right now?
I'm not sure best player, but he's a stud. Don't get me wrong there. But what
he's
you
a
trade
stud,
up,
but would you put?
So say you're I know Golden State. Okay, some of the trades include Clay, and Draymond, right? So okay, KD, if you trade 2 All-Stars or whatever and a couple first-round picks, I don't think
he replaces that.
He might, but if you need KD to get you over the top to a championship, I think KD has proven by himself he can get you a championship. So now you hope that, okay, we can replenish guys and get him. KD's 34. How many really good years does he have? 3?
You heard it was Clay and Draymond? I heard it was more like Wiseman and
But no, I've heard that
Kuminga.
too, and Kuminga and first-round pick, and Poole. Which is, okay, that's a good trade pack. If you could do that and get KD in there, a couple first-rounders, and now
that's
it's
the
KD.
goal right now to an extent, too, with the league.
Could you
if you
imagine?
look league cross, even MLB, NBA, NFL, it's a win now.
Yeah.
It's win right now. Can I win right now?
But if you have to trade legit all-stars for KD, like Carl Anthony and Anthony Edwards, right? You trade them
No, I'm not
for
trading
him.
them.
Okay.
That's the future. That's my future.
And by the time you reload pieces to put around KD, well, he's
past his prime.
He's
He's
done.
done, yeah.
He's done. He's got 2 or 3 really, really good years left.
Might be averaging 20 for you at that point, maybe.
So I would not, if I'm Minnesota, I'm not mortgaging the future. I know Golden State, as long as they have Ben Simmons, there are a bunch of teams that, they can't include guys that are on
I
the
heard
same.
they might be sending Ben to the Pacers now, so we'll see how that goes.
But as long as he's on the team, you can't get another guy on a rookie max, so that takes out Devin Booker.
If you
takes
look
out
at it,
Wiggins, a bunch of guys.
The only team that I could see, honestly, winning a championship next year or giving that team the team I see, I might say the Warriors will repeat. The only team I see really giving them a run for their money is the Clippers.
They have John Wall now.
John Wall, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Morris. Who else they got? They got Batum, Reggie Jackson. They got a solid squad.
I think
And they're very well coached with Ty Lue. Like, Ty
Yeah.
Lue is one of the best coaches in the league right now. Like, he's probably top 3.
I think KD to the Heat would semi be interesting.
But
As
the
long
thing
as they don't
about-
have to give up
Yeah,
Bam.
what do they have to give up? Right.
As
The
long as
thing about the Heat, though, like, I don't know. Like,
Kyrie, yeah.
could him and Jimmy coexist? I'm not real sure.
Yeah.
KD and Riley will not coexist.
Like Riley doesn't take any bullshit.
Yeah.
Like he had a follow, like not a follow, but he had a little problem with LeBron when he was there, and LeBron finally bought into the system.
Yeah.
Riley will send KD over to Greece or something.
Give me a pack of gum and a washing machine. I
Yeah.
don't need this guy anymore.
But like I'm super interested to see how this shakes out. And then Kyrie,
Lakers.
him going to the Lakers would be interesting. If they it would make the Lakers way better. Like if they could trade somehow him and Westbrook,
That's the deal. Like that's ideal.
it would obviously make the Lakers better because Russ is, he can't be the
He's
third
another
guy.
He's
He
another
can't
guy.
be the third
He's
guy
another
there.
That's the dominant factor of like why teams aren't winning.
If he doesn't have the ball in his hands, he's useless.
I love Russ. I love watching him play, but
Yes.
he's better on a team where he's like the guy.
And they said if the Nets go into full blown rebuild mode, okay, get KD out. We trade Kyrie for Russ.
At least you still have a guy that can kind of like bring fans into the stadium
And-
because he's
and
going
Russ-
to get triple doubles and everything.
Russ could have a good year because he's literally the only guy on the team.
Right.
That's a star. Him and Ben, whatever. Matt could tell you all about Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, he's got a very promising career going
What time
forward.
are we at? What time are we at?
Jesus.
Ben Simmons.
Bleep.
26-44. All right.
Okay.
All right, yeah, you can tell you all about him. But no, like I think the NBA is gonna be interesting. I can't wait to see how the free agency period shakes out.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of chips to fall.
So I think it's the time we're gonna get into we have
A couple guests.
couple
right?
guests because we have a big PI
One,
Pennsylvania.
You guys got some surprise guests, I heard. I
We
don't
have,
know.
Oh,
yeah, we
buddy.
have, we have
You don't know?
I don't know.
We have a frequent flyer
frequent flyer,
Oh, really?
and then a
local sports.
ace in the hole.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll,
All right.
we'll just
Be
we'll just,
interesting.
we'll just call it a local sports
So
authority.
right,
We'll call them.
right.
Cool.
So, I mean, maybe for the frequent flyer, Matt, maybe you go take a hike. I don't know.
Yeah,
take
All right,
a
I'm
hike.
outta here then.
Take a
Softball
hike
game.
for
Guys
him.
later.
I think he's got a softball game to go
Yeah,
to.
yeah, or something. Maybe
Yeah.
go take a hike for him, and
Right.
we're gonna get to our frequent flyer, and
Hello.
Jack,
There he is.
Yes. What's up?
what's up? Now joining the show. Very good guest, friend of the show. This is like the 4th or 5th time he's been on.
It's been a long time since we talked
Wait.
to him.
Now, since the last time we talked to him, now head girls basketball coach, Council Rock North, Mr. Jack Kelly.
Jack, how are you?
Was that a good
Great
intro?
to be back.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, that was a good intro.
How's the
This
off
is
season?
This is my first intro as my first interview.
Hey,
First
we're-
head coach interview?
Listen, we're glad you could give it to the Chooping It Up podcast here, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's the off season summer workouts going in preparation for your year one?
It's going well. We have a bunch of players working hard. We have the injury bug a little bit, but I'm proud of the commitment that our players have made in addition to, all that they have going on.
Nice.
So it's been good. Exciting times for sure.
Yeah, I feel like that's half the battle. You got to get them to buy in. So the fact that they can show up and maneuver their schedules around to fit what you're trying to do and build as a program is a testament to them. So it seems like you have a good group.
I think it's a double-edged sword because obviously we have goals that we as a team want to accomplish, but at the same time, like they have lives too. They only get to go through high school and be an adolescent once. So like we have a bunch of players that played in AAU season. We had probably about 7 or 8 girls that were out in Chicago this week for the live period. We've got
Cool.
other kids that have been go on vacation with their families, and then they're some others playing multiple sports, but they've been you know, balancing everything that's on their plate, which is a credit to them. And I think it's also important for us not to, you know, force kids to put everything in one basket, because you know, otherwise that leads to burnout and some of the other issues that we see that kids have today. So it's definitely a balancing act, but so far it's been so good. We've instituted a strength and conditioning program that had kind of been missing from the program. We have been having good numbers at our open gyms for the most part. You know, it's gotten a little tough in the summer time at times, but like every day, I think we've been trying to take a step forward, and that's kind of been the message, and the kids have bought into that.
Nice.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Tom was at a loss
It's
for
good to
words
hear.
there for
I
a
was.
second. Yeah.
Speechless.
So
I
you
can
know,
do that.
would
You have that gift.
Or it's just people fell asleep, and that's why.
I kind of
But-
was.
that's
I think I was dozed off.
that's the gift, Jack. That is it.
It's called de-escalating.
So obviously we know your time's limited, right? We've been in text. We might be down to 5.5 minutes, but the big, I mean, I guess news of the day. It's not like official, but you know,
It's coming around the corner.
coming around the corner. PIAA is moving to kind of be at the forefront of like, you know, instituting high school athletes to be able to profit off of their or make money off of their name, image, and likeness. Obviously, now you being a, you know, head coach in the system, it's something down the road that you might have to run into. So, just I kind of want to get your initial thoughts. Obviously, I have mine, and you know, Tommy has his, and you know, when Matt finally gets here, he'll have his. But like, as a brand new head coach, this is something that's going to be, you know, right around the corner, like Tom said. Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm all over the place thinking about it. It was something that I hadn't thought about at all, because you're trying to get a program off the ground. But it sprung up and was like, ooh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing is not to have a closed mind one way or the other.
Right.
Yep.
From a PIAA standpoint, I think people that might have been surprised by this, I'm not surprised at all, because I for better or worse, I feel like the PIAA, they kind of run their organization of is how can we avoid any lawsuits that come before us.
Yes.
And with that in mind, I think they foresaw that if they didn't get out ahead of this, they were going to face possible litigation, particularly because there's other states and neighboring states that have name, image, and likeness policies.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, you can say what you want. All right, they're trying to get out ahead of it. To be honest with you, the key to me is going to be how is it governed and who's governing it. And at the end of the day, we have to keep in mind what's best for the kids. And unfortunately, my biggest concern right now is that, and I have this concern not just with name, image, likeness. I just have it in concern with education and educational programs in general, is the adults in the room often get in the way of the kids.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, what do you mean by that? And we can go down a list of, there's people out there that they don't have what's in the best interest, and they try to make a profit off of kids, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We've turned into a culture of youth sports becoming a travel experience, for better or worse. And while it's not to take away from some of the excellent coaches out there who volunteer their time, there are programs out there that are more geared towards, you know, profits. And not that there's people out there that aren't doing their best in that industry, but there's some that just aren't. They're out there doing stuff without the kid in mind. And there's also, just people out there that they're feeding kids wrong information. A concern of mine personally is people out there that are telling kids that you should just be playing this sport and down this way. And I could see it creeping up into Lackawanna County, but I had a person, we ran a camp, and a person said to me, "Oh my God, my daughters loved your camp. They weren't playing any other sports other than soccer. And because, the leaders of the organization were saying, well, if you want to play in spring, you're going to want to play and improve your skills over winter. And then in the spring, they play and they say, well, if you want to stay on that team on the fall, you're going to have to improve your skills." And it just kept pushing them right into that spot. And I said, "How old are your kids?" "They're in third grade." And that's the thing. What now with the name, image, likeness? On one hand, I'm saying, wow, this could create opportunities for some kids that might not have those. And there are opportunities for kids that are trying to, manage life and working for their families while trying to be an athlete, while trying to be a student. But then there are others who, there's going to be people out there that try to take advantage of that situation, and unfortunately, they're going to push them into positions that don't have their best interests because they're looking for their own clout. So it's definitely going to be a balancing act, and it's definitely going to come down to what rules are in place to monitor it.
See,
Go
that's
ahead.
that's like the tough part for me. So if we look at this from a perspective of high school athletics to college athletics, because obviously they're dealing with it too. Obviously, I think the big thing that people have issue with at this point in time about the collegiate, the NCAA NIL deal or the collegiate NIL deal is that there isn't a way to govern it, and now it's like a free for all, wild west. Boosters are offering money, and transfer portal people are transferring. And I don't know. I think that might have to come from whatever state level. I'm not sure if the NCAA can be, if they could put sanctions or rules in it for NIL stuff. But I almost feel like initially on the high school level, because of what you just said, there are going to be at some point as this rolls out and as people start to, see how much influence a high school athlete has via social media, because social media isn't going anywhere, and kids are really, really good on their phones and, have a presence via social media. And for businesses, when they start to figure that out, they're going to be able to take advantage. They're going to be the businesses that, have, I want to help out. I went to so-and-so school and, I really like the family or whatever. Here you go. And then they're going to be the people that, want to take advantage of a kid. So I feel like on the high school level, though, as coaches, as it starts to get, more and more along with the parents, we're going to have these conversations with the kids. And it's almost going to be like another role that we have to be realistic with them. As adults, we could kind of see things a little clearer, okay, you did this for such and such business. They offered you $25 $50, but the reach that you're getting. So I feel like it's going to have to be a balancing act like that, where coaches as the adults, we're coaches, we have the best interest of the kids in mind, and this isn't going to be any different. So
I mean, I'm going to interject a little bit on that point to
by all means
the involvement, because as the Piaa came out, and the only thing I know of this right now is anything that's been written in the newspaper so far, and in terms of what the policy looks like and language and so on and so forth. But do coaches, very very few coaches, get involved in helping a kid get a job or get an internship or
True.
get that part-time job, like Jack says, at certain maybe break points in the calendar year based on what their activities are. And, and not whether it's good, bad, whatever, indifferent, but, what kind of counseling are they doing in that regard? And how is that much different than the NIL? My concern is, and like Jack said, as far as the rules and the guidelines, that student athlete can't wear our logo, can't wear any type of apparel of the school, can't do it in a uniform, can't talk about the school, can't mention PIAA. It's got to be completely private. So if it's going to be completely private, and as long as it doesn't pertain to that list of no products and services, right, then why should we have to police that, right? As long as it's not impacting, quote unquote, recruiting, transfers, so on and so forth from that eligibility standpoint.
See, I think, like, I'm not saying policing it. I'm saying, like, if you blatantly see, right, such and such is, has this deal with a local, I don't know, diner. And, like, you see as an adult that, like, this local diner is just taking advantage of this kid. Like, are you, like, I'm not saying police it for everyone, but if you blatantly see it, maybe it's a kid, or you talk to the parents, like something like that.
Yeah.
Because it's going to happen.
Right. It's happening already.
True.
We had a softball pitcher be asked to pitch to a local celebrity in order to sell tickets to a softball senior all-star game.
It's very true.
She didn't receive anything for it. I guess if she wasn't wearing anything and she didn't talk about our school, she could have probably profited off that appearance. Which is the right thing for the kid.
Yeah.
Because whoever got money for that game received money without her receiving a dime.
Yes.
So there's certain ways, like Jack said, I'm still kind of in shock a little bit. Not that it has moved here. We've gotten a heads up in April at a PIAA, a District 2 business meeting, that at the state level this was coming around the corner. I never anticipated waking up and
in July,
and a first reading was passed, and I have not seen anything come across my desk yet to look at the language of what was passed. So, and again, and that's why there's 3 readings to this, because now we're going to be able to digest a bunch of things and debate it back and forth. But the big thing is right now, I really don't have an opinion. I have some feelings, but I'm not taking a stance, because I honestly, like Jack, I think down in your area, it's going to be a bigger deal than it is going to be in the Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Northeast PA area, because you're dealing with more, just for the population alone, you're dealing with more higher level athletes at a more frequent basis, I guess, between Philadelphia and then out in Pittsburgh.
And I think you kind of see at the college level right now is, at the college level, you're seeing there's certain schools that have boosters that are basically just forking over as much money as possible. And it like, you can see, if you look at recruiting rankings, you can basically see who's had an NIL program set up and who hasn't.
Right.
At this level, like to your point, and kind of along what you're saying, like, a concern I'd have is, what's the take? Maybe there's a graduate of a certain school, or even like a private school that says that they basically create some sort of program that they're paying all the athletes there, and they're getting the best athletes. Well, then you might get kids transferring there, and they're getting money, but then they're not getting anything beyond that. Like,
right.
And ultimately, I think you always have to go back to, what's the purpose of interscholastic sports? And I think, in my opinion, and this is what I said in my interview, the interscholastic sports are an extracurricular activity There's supplemental programs to kind of enhance the learning and classroom experience of your district. We obviously know that they have benefits to the kid, and they're supposed to kind of coincide with the values of your school and, kind of help prepare that child for life after high school.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I think it's important that if you have a program that it kind of gears toward that. One avenue that I'd be curious if we're really looking out for the best for the kid, maybe they create a scale of here's what's allowed for the kid to receive direct cash reimbursements, and here's what's allowed for the kid to receive if they're doing this avenue, then money in that has to go into a fund that's directed only towards their education or future job trainings. Something that is kind of meeting the ideal of what you're doing. Like if you think about when a student schools a school district, they don't get that money directly if they win the lawsuit.
Right.
It has to go towards something towards their education.
Right.
Now, we know that I think when people hear that language, they're like, oh, you're saying that they have to go to college. I'm not saying that.
Right.
Maybe to your point, maybe it's creating some sort of, they work for, there's a company that wants to sponsor Joey. Joey agrees to that sponsorship, but in return, that company has to provide X amount of job shadowing opportunities in the summer, and in addition, the compensation, he gets direct compensation for that job shadowing, and then all advertisement money goes towards a fund that will help him obtain certification or some sort of educational opportunity towards his future goals, something like that.
Yeah.
Just something that doesn't lose the value of what we're trying to do, because otherwise we know this, and it happened way back when there, like some of the charter school programs first started popping up.
Right.
There's people that create things that are strictly geared towards sports. And to me, that's taking away opportunities for those kids. Look at IMG Academy. Like, that's strictly a sports-based school. Now, people say it creates opportunity for kids, and they're probably right. And there's probably kids there that wouldn't have otherwise gotten those opportunities. But at the same time, it's just, if that's all we're worried about, I think we're kind of losing our we're losing touch with what we're trying to do, and we could potentially be exploiting kids.
I go ahead, Hooper.
I was going to say, I think that is a good idea, but I think the pitfall with that is going to be what Tommy started this off with, is PIAA might try to put that in, but I feel like that would be something where once NIL, because it's going to be okay with all 50 states in high school at some point, it's going to be the same thing. If one state does it like you just said, like, okay, a student athlete could receive this much directly, but then anything after that has to go in whatever, scholarship fund or some on-job training, it's going to come back to the lawsuit thing. Well, okay, they don't, the New York, whatever, the high school athletic, like, it's going to be the same thing, I feel like, almost. In terms of lawsuits.
I'm just basically throwing stuff out.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I think it's a great idea.
But
I'm just trying to throw stuff out there, like spaghetti against the wall, kind of like thoughts of, okay, what are pluses and negatives right now? I do
correct.
Think there are pluses to this.
Yes.
And then, there was the article in the paper the other day about Jerry Martin. Think about him. In high school, he sold out every single gym in our area. He went to Syracuse. He had people busing up from Scranton, making T-shirts.
Right.
And he got nothing.
Sounds
$0
for that. Yep.
And he and that's where you go and as you think about stuff like that, he's one of and think about all the kids that have come out of this area and played basketball. There's only going to be a handful of kids that truly are going to be able to benefit from NIL at the high school level.
I was thinking that, yes.
And you're not, so it's not going to be, and I'm talking from like
like where it matters.
an impactful,
Yes.
not picking up a couple $100 a year.
Yeah.
You could do that. I'm not, you
You're
could do
saying
that cutting the grass.
There's going to be, a couple kids that make
They're-
like
London Montgomery at prep right now. Maybe the pre-kid up at Lakeland. There's only to me a small handful of kids that are really that someone's going to come knocking on the door looking. Again, there's bad and there's good and bad to this. I'm talking about the good aspects of their name, image, and likeness being beneficial to partner with some business, service, or group that there's going to be a mutual benefit between that partnership.
Yeah.
And honestly, like when you say you go back about the purpose of interscholastic athletics, in America, we're the only ones, I think, on the planet that the foundation of sports is in the school system. Everybody else, Jack mentioned IMG, everybody else across the pond, for the most part, have specialized academies for not only sports but any other type of niche interests. In terms of going towards that.
I mean, they have pro basketball players that are like 15 playing in the pro leagues. You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Yeah, but
you're saying actually.
But
like,
you kind of get.
Yeah.
Without going long into it, yeah, but you kind of get handpicked on who at a young age is looked at and said, you know what, you're going to be a gymnast, so you're going to the gymnast academy.
Yeah.
For a little while, and so, but I think honestly, from the NIL standpoint, anything negative to the NIL aspect of it, we're all at fault for it, especially in the interscholastic setting, because like Jack said, if the program is truly intended to supplement the educational mission of the school district, then once basketball season is over, the basketballs go away. Once baseball season, once the school year is over, get out and enjoy your summer.
Yeah.
You're not back in. You're not preparing. You're not. If we're truly about the student athlete, then put everything else away and wait until the first day of football. Wait until the first day of soccer, tennis, whatever the sport may be, and continue to emphasize that multiple participation approach.
Yep.
I mean, so we've made it to the point where in communities all across the country, if the football coach isn't winning or if the basketball coach isn't winning, then there's pressure on the school system to replace them.
Yeah.
For what? I mean, I got into an argument on Facebook because I couldn't keep quiet anymore with some parents of my daughter's basketball team, crushing the coach about when are they going to start off-season workouts. We're behind, and these girls haven't been doing anything, and this and this. At that time, it was early May. You could have been doing something. You could have been running track. You could have been playing softball. If you really wanted to, go play AAU basketball. Why is it that the school system has to be the one to turn into a sport academy? And that's not the mission.
Yeah.
Again, we want them active. We're not saying,
go play Xbox all day.
Yeah, we want them to be active and exercising and things like that. But again, the purpose and the mission is misguided.
Yeah. I will say in terms of just straight coaching, I think like this for you, Jack, particularly, and like any like new coaches, in the Pennsylvania whatever system, or even just guys that are a little younger or girls that are a little younger that are getting that head coaching, I think it's good for you because the first thing you said was like, I don't have an opinion. I'm going to be open-minded. So you could kind of, wherever this goes, you can kind of, go with it. But I've already seen it And it probably happened
Yeah,
the same thing on the college level. Like the guys that are, oh, this isn't how it used to. I've been doing this for 20 years. This isn't how it's done. Yeah, but things are changing, right? Kids actually, you know what? Kids can market themselves on social media. I see a bunch of, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds that are millionaires because they were able to use their phone effectively to market themselves. So,
and I think that's I think everything, it just has to be a balancing act.
Right.
You're trying to teach kids values that you feel will help them in the long run.
yeah.
But at the same time, we have a responsibility to try to promote players and promote our program.
Right.
But within that fact too, you got to get kids to buy into the concepts of, being a part of a team, all the things that we found to be beneficial to us with sports. And, I could see it going like multiple ways here, but to Tom's point, I think people have to realize, like, it's going to be different than the college level, because at the college level, like, you hear of the kids that are making, $2 million going to Texas A&M.
Well, the kid that was at Ohio State or whatever, that's now Texas, the quarterback, who made $1 million. Like they offered, you know what I mean, or Alabama's quarterback,
But those kids are talented kids who otherwise may not have been, their name was going to kind of be exploited. I think what's going to happen is, I think what's going to ultimately happen at the college level is you're going to have separate divisions, like an additional elite power conference division, and then you're going to have the people underneath that. At the high school level, where that money that you might be getting here would be for a stud, and they're probably trying to, if you follow the pathway, trying to something long term, like, hey, like, this is a college that I'd like to see you go to, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
that's where you have to be cautious. The regular hometown business isn't going to be they're not, like, think of all that they've been through. They're not going to be saying, yo, I want to give you 10 grand.
Right.
You're the starting point guard on the Montrose Meteors. Like,
here's the one example that I thought of, throughout the day brainstorming like this kind of stuff, was the booster club. Your typical booster club might be threatened by this, simply because, let's say you have Johnny's Pizza is a typical $100 ad book donor for you or something like that, right? Are they better served to throw that $100 to one of your more marquee athletes, or one of, not even necessarily just because of their athletic image, but more so just from their personality, right, and influence? Throw that kid $100 and ask him just once a week, say, make sure you have a social media post that says, I love Johnny's Pizza, with a picture and whatever they can do creatively on social media these days.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. But then what's to not turn around on the other end is the people then that abandon that business because you didn't support the other, like,
yeah, right
now, unfortunately, right. Like, this is going into, like, one of the things that I intend to do for our players, and I do it for our kids in school in one of the classes I teach, is navigating social media.
Right.
And unfortunately right now, it goes back to that adults in the room messing things up. You go online and you see the way that people converse behind the screen of a phone or computer, and the posts that get made and the comments and the threads and the anger that gets posted on social media.
Mm-hmm.
This could contribute further to that, because there's, you're going to have people, unfortunately, you're going to have people going after coaches saying that by not playing your kid, you're
Yeah,
not only
you're limiting
you're
their
not only
right.
you're not only taking away from their high school career, but you're taking away financially from ways that they could benefit.
That's a good
Yeah,
point.
but it is. But again, like the parents are going to do that no matter what. They already do
Correct.
that. This is just something else that they
Right.
can
Right.
that they
You
complain
put
about.
you put money behind that hoop, that takes it to a whole nother level.
Right.
And I think you know
It
it'll be easy for the PIAA to say, hey, we're not going to do anything associated with school. Like
Yes.
we don't have this problem. It's not going to be associated with schools, whether it's associated with schools or not. They're going to have to come out with ways for administrators and coaches, like brainstorm how you can handle situations that stem from this.
Right.
Because and make sure that how do we inform, train parents so they're aware of what's out there, and how do we make sure that we're educating people so that they're making the best decisions for themselves and for their families, and all of that jazz, because otherwise you're going to run into a million problems with you're not doing anything to help my family, which you kind of have now, but now you have money behind that.
Yeah,
And
but the way you're saying, I think that becomes a real issue. I don't think, whatever. Okay, player so and so, little Joey gets $200. Like $200 is $200. Now, if it gets to the point 10 years from now where whatever, it makes sense to pay, the best player on the local football team, high school football team, if it makes sense to pay him $5,000 because that's how much business they can.
All it takes is one kid. All it takes is one kid to be making that crazy amount, and then everyone else in their rose-tinted classes are going to.
Yes, that's what I'm
they're
saying.
Right. And I agree with Hoop with it's happening already, because it's no, like, again, the kids that are going to benefit from this, again, they're not in the PIAA in this discussion, but the ones at Oak Hill and IMG and Montverde, and those kids are getting deals. They just don't have to worry about the eligibility component with their state athletic association.
Yeah.
And I think the state athletic association has to a degree, get out in front of this. Tanner comes in, he doesn't even wear a shirt.
Absolutely.
They have to get out in front
Was
of
he
this.
really not wearing a shirt?
He wasn't. Because if they don't, especially, I think the driver behind this is Philadelphia, and no doubt in my mind, because the kids down in Philadelphia are going to leave some of those PIAA member schools and jump across to Jersey, New York, or into a prep school and take advantage of it, where at least now the PIAA can come back and say, no, we're going to allow you to monetize that. It's just, here's where we're at right now.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it like in a negative way. I'm saying it just as a coach. I want to make sure when this comes out that me and my staff better be as prepared as possible, for situations that could be able to arise, and understand all the rules, and just do everything we can to make sure that, we're helping our players be in a position that they could succeed potentially, and that they can make the proper decisions and not do anything that could jeopardize them. And at the same time, make sure that we're not doing anything that could, jeopardize our own selves and our own integrity.
Yep.
So it's just getting on board. It's going to be interesting times for sure.
Good answer there, Jack. That was a great answer.
I guess what I'm saying is it has to be more than, we passed a law.
Right.
Like you think back to some of the other laws that have passed. Like we think about, things like we have to do the concussion and heart certification every year. Well, just like that, there better be workshops on
That's a good
how to
point.
navigate this.
Right.
Good point.
And if people don't want to go, then that's on them. But I know I'll be one of the first to sign up to make sure that we're doing everything by the book and we're helping our athletes
Right.
be in a position that they can succeed, and we understand the rules and kind of help avoid them getting any potential jams.
All right. That's a good point. I'm glad you'll be the first
I
one to
love it.
sign up.
Yeah.
10 minutes
there's
turned into 37.
It always does with Jack
I
Kelly.
gotta go. It's my mom's birthday. I gotta.
Oh,
Tell mom we said
happy
happy
birthday.
birthday.
Happy birthday,
Tell
Mama Kelly.
your dad I said hello.
I will. Bye bye.
Jack,
All right, see you
appreciate
guys.
See ya,
you.
Jack.
Bye.
Perfect timing. He leaves, I come in. Can't ask for a better transition.
We dialing?
So yeah, we're gonna transition to our second guest here. Let's see.
Second
All set.
guest
Let's
of
see
the
if
show.
what if he doesn't answer?
I hope so.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be embarrassing.
Yeah, well,
There
Now
he is. Okay, go
now
ahead.
joining the show, we have former track/football star, Lakeland Chief, current writer, Scranton Times, one of the best. Lakeland class of 19. Looking for some help, Job? Looking for some help?
I'm not telling.
Yeah.
All right.
I told you.
Scranton Times.
Smart man.
Joby Fawcett joining the show now. How we doing, Job?
I'm doing well. Thanks for calling, guys. I can't tell you what an honor it is to be on the receiving end of an interview by such sports knowledge guys out of the Mid-Valley School District.
We appreciate you blowing smoke for us. We appreciate it.
How was
Anytime, fellas.
Dream Game practice?
Well, Tom, you know how these things go. It is what it is.
Yeah.
A collection of seniors who probably would rather not be practicing in July, but no, it was good.
Yeah.
They actually worked pretty hard up there, and I always enjoy seeing kids who get an opportunity to play one final game, especially the kids who are going to be going off to college or going off into trade schools or jobs or whatever. They get a chance to kind of relive the high school football experience again and to do it and make some new friends along the way. So that's a pretty cool experience. But they look pretty
Absolutely.
good. They look pretty sharp.
County today or city?
I saw the city today, believe it or not,
Okay.
at Lackawanna Trail High School because, as you know, in our infinite wisdom with the Lackawanna Football Conference, we have placed Lackawanna Trail in the city roster.
Right.
Wait,
right.
what?
I'm still confused by all that.
Oh,
My
wow.
kids explained to me when they came down last week for equipment that Delaware Valley was coaching them, and I asked, okay, well, who's coaching this city? And they said Lackawanna Trail, and it took me probably about 35 seconds before I could even speak to try to figure that one out.
How
But
are they a city?
Well, the thing about it is, Tommy, is here's what happens, as is always the case, and you and I talk about this a lot during the course of a regular high school season. We often take what we see in a microcosm. So 1 year or 2 years, maybe it was, the city really overmatched the county, and it was understandable because Scranton Prep and Delaware Valley, they were all on the city team, and the Scranton and West Scranton. So all the bigger schools had landed on the city roster, and the smaller schools were all on the county roster. So they kind of tried to even that up a little bit and put a couple of big schools on the county and a couple of smaller schools on the city, and that's how we ended up where we are today with Lackawanna Trail and Susquehanna playing on the city roster.
yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense when you explain it like that.
Right.
So the most county schools
Yes.
we put on the city roster.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Nice.
Which ends up being, as a byproduct, several of the players selected from those schools don't play because they don't like to have to drive down to Scranton.
An hour to drive into the city for practice.
Right. So you can never win. Tommy, I've told you this 1,000 times. You never win no matter what decision you make.
You got it. Absolutely. No good deed goes unpunished.
That's correct.
So we were calling because of the hot topic that came out of the news yesterday afternoon.
And that's what beach I'm going to next week?
Yes. Which is? Which one are you going to?
No, I'm not telling that.
Smart man.
We'll show up. But the NIL issue with the PIAA. So were you? I know there are many times you're on the state board of director meeting calls. Were you on this one in particular, or did you get the news after the meeting was
No,
over?
this one wasn't a Zoom one, Tommy. So I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't able to be there live. So I had to, like everybody else, had to see it on the wire, and then, we do our part after we get what happens at the meeting. So a couple of things. Boy, I wish we had NIL when I played. That being said, it's a very, very interesting topic, because I think I said a couple of months ago, actually it may have been a year ago, when I found out that this was going to happen on the collegiate level, that the NIL was going to come through, and the NCAA was going to lose that ability to keep the athletes from cashing in on their own, the use of their likeness and their images. And I said, well, I want to really see how it's going to work on the collegiate level, and already it's been a somewhat of a disaster at that level.
Yeah.
And then I knew, as is always the case, it always trickles down into the high school level. And look, we are in a much different era of athletics at every level now. Okay, you're seeing with the big conference football and basketball leagues and everything dissolving and forming these super conferences, and it really comes down to the financial end of it. And I want to say this too, Tommy, that and Matt and guys, what has happened here is that the shutdown of the 2020 sports season and the all the restrictions that were put on post the COVID infections opened up a lot of eyes to people and saying, hey, this could go bust. We better take this while we've got it. And there's a lot of shrewd lawyers out there, I'm going to tell you. And I knew it was going to happen. I don't know. I still haven't formulated an opinion on this, because I don't want to get to that point just yet, because I want to try to stay as neutral as I can.
Yep.
But it's going to certainly be interesting, to say the least, to see how schools handle it.
Right.
Because I don't know I don't even know at this point if you have a right to police it.
Yes. I said that a little bit earlier. Right. Because they're keeping our, and when I say our, the schools' name, image, and likeness out of the kids' business. So then it does, it makes it almost a completely private relationship with whoever they're going to enter a partnership with, like you said, and where are we even able to govern that, other than it, affecting, how does that relationship affect their potential eligibility for our programs? It's crazy.
I want to look at it. I'm trying to look at it as objectively as I can, and it almost is like into your star quarterback getting a part-time job. You can't tell them that they can't get a part-time job just because they're the star quarterback in the Valley. So it's interesting to see, if that's how we're going to interpret this, as being, as long as they're not wearing your uniform and they're not saying they're the star quarterback at Mid-Valley in any kind of advertisement or any kind of commercial or any kind of billboard. I think that's why the PIAA has kind of put this out there, because, as I've told you many times over during the course of anything that goes on with the PIAA, and this a little bit by being involved with the LIAA, most of your rulings are going to be liked by half and they're going to be disliked by the other half. But the other part of the equation is nobody wants to get sued. And I have told you this a dozen times, if not 1,000 times. When we get to the private versus public debate, which is often heated as well, I always start our conversations with, Tommy, the PIAA is not going to go through a lawsuit. It's just not.
Right.
And I think the PIAA has a lot of lawyers that it consults. It consulted the PIAA didn't just get into this haphazardly and decide one day, we're going to let NILs reign free in the state. It did its due diligence. It went through and saw how the policies were in New York and New Jersey and these neighboring states, Ohio or whatever, that allow it. And it's got some lawyers telling it what it can and cannot do. And I think the biggest message that the PIAA got was, I don't think it's going to be able to stop it anyway.
Right.
It's a runaway train.
Joe, my question for you is, do you see the new NIL affecting transferring? Like guys trying to transfer to different schools now to kind of maybe get their name out there a little bit more, so maybe they get an NIL deal?
One of the worries that I've always had at the high school level concerning transfers. I'm not against kids or parents trying to find a better situation if they so deem it necessary in terms of academics. Athletics I've always been against, but that's because I played at a public school. And I just think when you're playing against private schools, there is a competitive imbalance there. But nevertheless, this is America, and you have the right to choose where you want to go, what you want to do. So I don't exactly know the impact of this NIL situation in terms of there's some language in the non-permissible NIL where it says third-party involvement. I don't know exactly how, if they define that clearly enough for me. I don't know. I'm just a lowly Lafayette graduate. I don't speak legal jargon. So
You're smarter than the three of us.
Yes.
Well, so I don't. When it comes to transferring, the thing that would raise some flags for me is if a very talented young player in the junior high level is kind of wooed to another school district by, let's say, a business or a restaurant, or to say, hey, listen, it becomes high school recruiting, but not by the coaching staffs. It becomes, listen, we'd like to have you do a commercial for us, but hey, listen, I'd rather you go to this school than that school.
Absolutely, right.
And that could become a problem. But again, the PIAA still does have, and I know people don't understand this to the extent that they do have it, that the transfer rules are still in place. They do have these very strict guidelines that you have to follow. If you transfer after your 10th grade year, you got to miss the postseason for a year. You have to sit 21 days. Those sorts in season, those sorts of things. So they do have some defense mechanisms to still discourage you from transferring, but with the allure of some sort of NIL deal, I don't know how that's going to change that landscape either.
Right.
That's a good point. Individually, if I'm getting recruited to a different school for an NIL deal, I'll miss the postseason. That's
that dollar amount might be worth the sit out.
Especially if you're only going to miss the postseason for one of your 2 or 3 remaining years. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yep.
I do think kids. And I do. One thing I will point out about the PIAA that I did like from what I heard and gathered from this report is it's really going to be active in educating schools and parents on the do's and don'ts of NIL. I think that's an important component because I naturally everyone's initial reaction is to say, "Oh, this is terrible for high school sports. We can't have this. We can't have Johnny getting paid to do a commercial, and then what if the coach benches him?" Those sorts of things. There's always the immediate overreaction that this is so bad. Maybe it is bad. We don't know yet, but I think the PIAA is looking at it as a situation where it is something that it's not going to be able to contain or stop or control.
Right. It was happening sooner or later.
Right. So at the very least, let's get ahead of it. And then let's educate parents, families, schools, and kids so that they're doing the right things and not, necessarily getting themselves into some sort of trouble with eligibility in terms of playing at a different school or transferring and that sort of thing. Just keep people informed of what they have to be on the lookout for. Because, again, a lot of this is going to be generated. There's going to be NIL people reaching out to athletes.
Oh, absolutely.
I guarantee you that.
For sure.
Yeah. How if you don't want to answer, you don't have to answer. How big of an impact do you think it will be for us here locally, though? To me, I feel like this is not that we're we're not going to see it at all, but I feel like this is obviously a bigger issue in other areas of the state with
So
some
you're
of
saying
the
like Philly, Allentown area, like
the
bigger populated?
bigger populated, but where most of our bigger athletes come out of,
Okay.
In Pennsylvania sports. Like, how do you think that
Okay.
compares to our area?
Okay, well, again, our natural reaction is to say that we're 5 years behind the curve anyway.
Right.
In everything that we do in Northeast Pennsylvania. However, what I will say is we've never experienced anything like this before, so we really don't have any evidence or anything to base how it's going to happen or play out on. We have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of going into this blind. Our immediate perception of it is, the quarterback at school A is going to get a $10,000 NIL deal. Do I think that's going to happen? No. You know what I mean?
Right.
We often look at the bigger picture and see what's happening on the collegiate level and think that immediately is going to happen to the best high school football player, the best high school basketball player, or the best high school track kid's going to get a shoe deal or something. I mean, do I think that's going to be the case? I don't know.
Right.
I just don't know.
Yeah.
But I'll say this, and again, I don't want to formulate an opinion like you said, but I would be hard pressed to believe if Colin Kravitz from North Pocono got a shoe deal that you would want to deny that kid the ability to make money.
Right.
Right, absolutely.
Based upon his abilities.
Yeah.
Based upon his abilities.
Yeah, and that
Now,
I guess goes back, not to interrupt you, but that goes back to the old college argument the same way, where the college track kid wasn't allowed to do it prior to all of this. However, the kid in the IT department that came up with a program during a project, and
he could make money.
Yeah, it can get bought out by Microsoft, and and there was no issue.
Right. And the other thing, and not that I'm advocating for anybody getting a shoe deal, is
give it to the kid.
I think high school sports is still a little bit of a weird dynamic because I think we're going to start to see it even on the collegiate level. You guys are pretty big college fans. I know, Tommy, you're a big Indiana fan.
That's right.
I think what it puts a pressure on, and I had to do some counseling with some coaches today over the phone, it's going to put a lot of pressure on coaches to say, hey, if so-and-so's got a NIL deal and he gets beat out for a position, well, I'd be hard-pressed to believe that coach is going to keep that kid off the court or out of the field.
Well, that's a great point, too.
Right.
So to me, that's got to be a concern if you're a local athletic director or a coach. I mean, we're already dealing with the height of the helicopter situation that we're dealing with,
Right.
So I think that only even gets more magnified if we start seeing NIL deals. But again, when we say NIL deals, our immediate perception is what we see on the national scale. We see kids at Texas A&M getting $10,000 guaranteed if they play offensive line.
Yeah.
They eat at a steakhouse or whatever once a week.
Right.
Right. Are we going to see that on the high school level? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Joe, I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
You've covered a lot of athletes over your career. Is there anyone that kind of popped up to your head that you kind of said, wow, he missed a great opportunity for this?
Well, I think you could start.
Other than you. Other than you.
Listen, guys, I know you guys are much too young to remember when I played, but I really could have gotten a heck of a Head and Shoulders deal.
I've seen that.
Business in the front, party in the back, baby.
Yeah, Troy Polamalu's made a fortune off Head and Shoulders, and I couldn't get a dime. But, no, Jerry McNamara, of course.
Okay.
For him, right off the bat, I mean, Donnie Collins did a great job. Jerry wouldn't have had to work again.
No.
If
before he enrolled at Syracuse.
Yeah.
Before that, yeah. I mean, he was a phenom on the high school level. I mean, we don't often have athletes in our area. I mean, we occasionally where fans would buy T-shirts with
to that level,
kids'
right?
Name and number, right? But then it just took off at Syracuse, and
Uh-huh.
and if he had ever gotten an NIL deal back then, he would never have had to work again. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? He would have been certainly well off. I think if you put in a perspective that would be in a tricky spot, that I think that would be someone that somebody like a Jake McCarthy, who everybody
yeah.
knew was going to, Max Kranick,
Yeah.
played in the major leagues. These kids who had the real potential to be professional athletes at some point of their, postgraduate career. I think those kids could have really made some money at the high school level using their images,
Yeah.
and certainly there was one right now, London Montgomery. How could he
Uh-huh.
not, how could he not have taken advantage of this? I mean, everybody
Right.
recognizes him and knows him. And a lot of times we don't really understand that, but if you're able to, as a high school athlete, go to a restaurant and everybody knows who you are when you walk in, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is post it that you were there on social media.
And then there you go. You did your part.
Right.
Well, listen.
know?
Here's the other part of the equation that we haven't even discussed yet, guys. Is there is a component in there, if you looked, about social media.
Uh-huh.
There are NIL deals where athletes, all they have to do is have a presence on a social media page. They can be paid for that.
Right.
Wow.
So if you look, yourself, Tommy, we talk about this a lot. A lot of the athletes today
I'm getting an NIL deal.
are their own PR people anyway.
Right. Yep.
So, you start up a website or a social media page, or you have a good company backing, that's an NIL deal. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was Job, I was talking to Tommy a little earlier, but based on that, what you were just saying, like at some point I feel like, local businesses are going to get keen on the fact that, high school athletes, a lot of them, like not even the ones that you know of, just have a big presence on social media with all the different platforms. And at some point, I think we see it with, certain I'm just going to say, like, pages that are popping up, like kids like to see, kids that share things on social media, other kids will share it, and that's how things get traction like a snowball. Or if you as a parent, see your kid, whatever, on the local restaurant commercial, you're going to share it, and then, oh, that's, so-and-so. And, like, that's how this stuff gets around. And I don't even think it needs to be, kids to the caliber of London Montgomery. I don't think it needs to be that deep. Again, I think it's underestimated how big like kids' presence are on these apps, and how much parents seeing their kids on these apps will kind of get the snowball effect for these businesses. And I think at some point they'll figure it out, that it'll get more
Business to them.
It'll get more business to them just by letting this
Right.
high school kid. And I don't think it has to do with the school. The school you play for or the sport you play. Obviously, that'll help, and the people that could do that will be a little better off for trying to take advantage of it. But I think even less talented or less not talented, but
There's a market for
yeah,
the
yeah.
the
And at some
lesser
point-
known faces
At some point,
too.
the businesses will figure it out. I think.
Right.
Well, businesses always figure things out.
Yes.
Yeah.
But again, I think the one thing about high school athletes, and again, we're just starting, so we don't know exactly what this is going to be 5 years down the road. We just don't know. But the one thing I would say, high school athletes also have a very short shelf life.
Yes.
So we'll see what they may not know that yet because you're living in the moment. But
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean by that. By when we graduate, we tend to forget that we are forgotten pretty quickly.
Yeah, Matt Tanner's already very washed up.
Well, I don't know.
And
I don't necessarily know if Matt Tanner's watched.
Matt
a guy
is.
like me, 30 years down the road. No, but and again, we'll have to see how it all plays out. I just, my initial reaction is I think the PIAA and I don't often criticize the PIAA as often as everybody else does because I have to work with those people. But
Uh-huh.
I just think that the PIAA right now sees a situation that it's trying to get ahead of, and it's not going to be able to stop. You're going to be in the minority if you're going to try to restrict these kids from making money off their name, and you're probably opening up yourself to a lawsuit that you don't want to
Absolutely.
be
I think you're
involved
going to lose a lot of athletes too if you didn't open up the door. A lot of guys are going to start leaving Pennsylvania to an
Yeah.
extent if they can't get their name and likeness
Well,
and go to a
that's
neighboring
right.
Yes.
state that they can go and make that money, you know?
That's correct. That's correct. And I think that there was some threats of that, some real possibilities of that in the Pittsburgh and the Philadelphia area. So
Yep.
Okay.
they have to address this now. And listen, the landscape of high school athletics is going to be much different 5 years from now, from this day.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me when I tell you, Tommy Nowakowski, you know what I'm saying about.
Yep.
This is going to be a very, very interesting and case study in where we're headed in scholastic sports moving forward,
Right.
for sure.
I agree.
If this podcast is still alive in 5 years, we might have to have you back on to revisit it, Joe.
Well, I won't be available to be a guest in 5 years, but certainly you guys.
Sure you will.
You guys,
Come on.
You guys are real go-getters and energetic. So you got a heck of a following. So I think you'll be okay.
Appreciate that, Joe.
At least
You're the
someone
best.
thinks so. Yeah.
Spartan Nation loves you guys.
True. That's accurate, I guess.
There you go. All right. Well, I certainly appreciate your time there, pal.
Hey, listen, you, Tommy, I told you I make time for you. Now, listen, I got to go churn out 3 stories in the next 3 hours. So,
We're cutting into deadline time.
If there's anybody that can do it, it's you, though.
Absolutely.
yeah, but you caught me in transition here where I was still driving home from practice. So you
right.
lucked out because now I got to get myself a nice green tea and get the computer cranking.
There we go.
Whatever stories you throw out, I'll share on social media tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah, we got you, bud.
Yeah, we got you. 3 from
All
us.
right, you guys are the best. And listen, when I go to visit Mid Valley, I want to make sure you, Tommy Nowakowski, are there with your bucket hat on, protecting yourself from the sun.
That's right.
And we'll share some stories on the sideline. Okay?
You got it.
He doesn't
Absolutely.
leave home without it.
But listen, never mind NIL deals at Mid Valley. You guys are getting the state-of-the-art facility over there. Tommy Nowakowski finally opened up some of that communion money. You're going to have a real track and an artificial field. It's unbelievable.
Job, if they took my communion money, I wouldn't even be able to put tape on the track.
Okay, well, I don't know. That's not what I heard. Jimmy DePote does your accounting at Mid Valley.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
Listen, it was a lot of fun, guys. Thanks
Same
for
here.
having
Thanks.
me
You
on.
got it. Thanks
Thanks,
for coming
Joe,
on,
for the
Joe.
call, Joe.
Much continued success to you guys. All right, Be
You
good.
too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You too. Say it.
Bye.
What an interview. What an interview.
It's always nice to know people, man.
Yeah.
Right? Joby never
Never disappoints.
never
Like,
disappoints. No.
he opened my eyes to when he was talking about what part was it? When he was talking about
Really opened your eyes. You can't even remember.
remember,
yeah.
no.
Yeah.
real open eyes. As you could tell.
Don't worry. It's up here, bud. It's all up here.
It was right in the middle. I can't remember, but no, he was very intellectual about it. I mean, I didn't get to say my part. My whole thing with the name and likeness thing is, if I think we've said it before about the collegiate aspect about it, and I'm still strong on it. It's very hard for me to tell a kid that is coming from poverty
Yeah.
to say, don't go do this.
Right.
Absolutely.
Like, if you can help out, if it's all for the right reasons, like you're helping yourself, helping your family out,
Yeah.
take the money and do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Right.
But when it becomes the aspect of like these boosters or these alumni trying to pull these kids just because they want to relive their glory days in high school because they have the money now to pull these kids into their high school, then I have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's my whole aspect of it.
Yeah. I mean, you don't ever want to see, a group of alums or boosters, however you want to term them, get together, put together a foundation of sorts. That's the front of this whole thing, and
Right.
and doing it the wrong way. But like you said, to me, I think about some of our kids from lower socioeconomic levels that we deal with on a daily basis at the school. And if there's some type of NIL deal that can assist them and their families at home with a couple bucks in their pocket,
Go for
then
it. Yeah.
You go post about my
we have
pizza
to do-
restaurant.
yeah,
You're getting
something.
$250
Right.
Yeah.
in your
Yeah.
pocket right here.
But again, and
Let's not
also
say- I'm just saying.
Now again, us as the schools, we can't be involved. So you guys as coaches, me as the athletic director, we can't be involved in that kid's business.
You can't be brokering deals. Yeah.
Right. But
Hey,
again,
I got this guy for you.
yeah,
If you toss him a few bucks,
you know, but somebody out there puts together something where, you know, the thing is, again, keep your head out of trouble. Keep, you know, doing what you're supposed to do and following through with things the right way. Then, you know, again, there's got to be that business, that mutual beneficial business transaction that for that kid's name, image, and likeness, it's going to help their business and then in turn impact the kid financially.
I mean, I'm just, it's the same thing. Like Joby brought up a good point. Like, you know, Matt's a high school athlete. Matt drives. Matt needs to put gas in his car in this day and age where it's $5 a gallon. Like Matt's parents aren't paying for it. Matt's got to go get a job.
Yeah.
So now with Matt, whatever, he excels at a sport, can now, okay, maybe he doesn't need to get a job. Maybe whatever, he makes a couple posts on Instagram or whatever.
Yeah,
gets a couple
it's enough to get you.
Just
right.
enough to get him to practice,
you know
or
what I mean?
he makes his live to an extent.
You know, like you said, it's weird about sports, but a kid who's really talented musically can start a YouTube channel and
we
cover songs, and no one ever knows. But if it blows
and
up,
none of us would have an opinion on it.
They make money, but
Right.
like when it comes to an athlete,
But as soon as-
it's
right.
almost like it was the same way with college and high school sports. It's almost like it's held with some sort of standard. Like, no, this should just be about play on the field. It shouldn't be about money. But it's always about money at some point.
At the end of the day, too, those colleges aren't pulling the money or getting in those
Without the athletes.
right?
Yes.
Like you're telling, like he said, Jerry McNamara. You think people from our area would ever watch Syracuse? Maybe, yeah, but they probably fell in love with Syracuse. That's what's more because of Jerry McNamara.
I wouldn't have been going on bus trips to see Syracuse with Coach Mazak.
Look at this.
Without
Right.
Jerry McNamara.
Lacrosse, though.
But it's the same thing. So
Yeah, you played a lot of lacrosse.
I brought this point up to him before, right? You say you're a really successful coach of a sport, right? And because you're so successful, right, you have a bunch of accolades. You now get asked, hey, we're running this camp at such and such 5 days. Hey, pay you $300 if you come for
show
2
up,
hours,
just talk a
2
little
hours,
bit, yeah.
talk, whatever. Okay, well, you got those accolades. Why? Because you had kids that helped you get to X amount of wins, and for you to be looked at like
You
this
didn't play
great,
those games. You just coached the kids.
like
you
you
put
to
them in the
look
right
at like
spots to
yes,
succeed. Right.
I mean, it was a team effort, but they're not banking off of that. Now you have, because you were looked at as, you know, a good coach or whatever, a
Right.
good high school coach. Now you can profit off of it, but it's not only because of what you're doing. Like you could have the best mind in the world. You can't do it by yourself. You need those kids to go out there and
Right.
play the games for you.
Right, and I think though too the big difference, and you know, naturally it comes out last night. Didn't hear much of it this morning. Then it kind of went widespread. It was published in a paper, shared all over social media.
I had no idea about it until Matt texted us this
And
morning.
there was I've seen, you know, the little bit of opportunity I had to look and kind of gauge the reaction. You saw everything from this is the greatest thing that's ever happened in high school sports to
Yeah.
this is the end
of high school
end of
sports.
life.
Yeah.
You know, so in myself, I'm still kind of teetering between, kind of like Joby said, I don't really have an opinion right now, because I'm still trying to
And there's not that
process
much
it and digest
information
it.
on it that
Yeah,
out
but
there yet
but
either.
to me though, name, image, likeness isn't that. I just don't see it as that big of a deal in high
On
school.
this level, yeah.
Because to me, the name, image, likeness campaign, when it started, essentially with the Eddie O'Bannon
that was
lawsuits
video
and stuff
game,
with
right?
the video games,
Northwest,
right?
Northwestern.
They tried to unionize.
They tried to, right? So the work those guys had and the argument those guys had was EA Sports is selling a video game that's using
yeah.
me And my
And it doesn't
and
have
they're
my name, but it has
my
my number, my
my-
position. I'm
yeah,
there.
and
It's
it has
me.
the type of athlete I am. It has me at an
My weight,
85,
my height, yeah.
85
Scrambler.
speed, and not
Yeah.
you know. So
It's me,
it's
just
throwing
it
left-handed.
doesn't have my
you know,
name, yeah.
And those kids were getting screwed.
Yes.
You know,
Oh,
the kid whose jersey is hanging in the college bookstore, and the college is making a fortune because everybody's flocking to it to buy it, like Jerry, right? He didn't get $1 for that. Again, you go to, you know, I'm not poking fun, but like who's buying a, you know, we're not even selling Miranda Runco jerseys. You know, who's buying a Danny Nemitz jersey? Who's buying a Eddie Kaufman jersey? Who's buying that stuff's not occurring in the high school landscape where those kids are getting screwed. To me, it is more like an opportunity for these kids to have a part-time job, like Joby said, that doesn't impact
Their playing or
their athletic eligibility
their
in high school.
academics to an extent either.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I think we all know, like some kids take athletics a little more seriously in terms of, you know, whatever, if it's basketball, football, you know, softball, soccer, whatever, they go maybe to individual camps and they travel
they get a
on the
personal
weekends,
trainer.
right?
They go do the lifts.
They go, so they literally, those kids who put more time into sports because they want to be good, and I'm not saying that everyone has to do it, but like they, I think, would benefit more, and most likely those are going to be the kids that end up.
Well, you're just like you said, like the kids that are going to put more time into it, like
they don't have the time to get the part-time job,
right? Like
Right.
they have AAU, they have to go on these weekends where they're traveling.
And hell,
everything.
now the way you guys said that, the first thing that comes to my head is that kid gets the NIL deal, makes some money, and then now it's a wash on mom and dad traveling all over the place, whether it's travel or paying for the weekend AAU trip.
Like you got to think about it, like AAU basketball. You're paying for gas, hotel, food, your entrance into the game. Like all of that is coming straight out of your pocket. If you get that NIL deal,
Right.
maybe
could
now you're
fund
just
that.
maybe it's a wash, like you said. Now maybe you can go and do a couple more. Maybe you can go on vacation with your family that you weren't able to because you had to save for AAU.
And it's like, no offense, but it's those kids typically, not all the time, but the ones that put the most work in and do all that stuff on the side, that don't have time to get a part-time job because they're spending all this time to do this because they love it or they want to play it in college. They're typically going to be the ones that are the better players in whatever sport. And in terms of NIL deals, they're going to be the ones that get them.
Still a fan of multi-sport athletes.
Me too.
Yeah.
But, I mean, some of those kids might be multi-sport athletes. They do all this. Okay, I got to go get a lift in. Oh, I have soccer practice. Oh, I have, a basketball individual, whatever. And they manage they don't have a time to get a part-time job in all that. And, hey, however you want to run your high school career is how you do it, however you want to live your life. But, like, yeah, this is something that maybe a local business can, hey, you promote, here you go, we'll give you this. You're a really good soccer player, basketball player, whatever.
Hey,
and
put a tweet out of us giving some type of special. Here's
I think
X
about
amount of dollars.
But you're going to get the people that are like, oh, well, it's not fair. Like, it's not, they choose to spend their time to get good. It's the same thing like the person who, the athlete or the student who studies and gets the scholarship, right? They work really hard, they study, they get a scholarship. Like,
you put your time in, you
put
deserve
your time
that
in.
money, right?
You know what I mean? It's just so, like Joby said, like, and even Jack, like, I don't know what this is. I'm not going to form an opinion. I'm always pro athlete, no matter what the level is. It's just
I'm excited. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
if it's an opportunity for kids to help themselves and help their families.
I mean, I even think of different situations, and like you said, Joby brought up Kravitz from North Pocono on the track, and you look at our track guy Zarnowski, right? He finishes 6th in the state in the hurdles, and had a great year. Now, obviously, an avid photographer.
yes.
So could that kid get something from an NIL standpoint that has to do with photography in some degree or, in way, shape. So it's hard to, and especially when you're taking out, he's not going to go run around doing a wedding or something like that with his track jersey on.
Right.
Where, so you kind of, the more I think about it, is that an NIL deal? Is it not? The kid's not wearing our gear.
True, yeah.
And not representing himself or herself
it's not
as our athlete.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, it's not going to be Nate Sarnowski, Mid-Valley hurdler.
Yes,
right.
Right. State champ hurdling photographer.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Where such and such, whatever, we were talking about that camp, like, okay, that the couple, the 7, 8 Penn State players that are coming, that are going to be right over here at Riverfront.
Yeah.
Like, it's Sean Clifford, Penn State quarterback. Like, that's not going to be. So, yeah, that's constitute technically as an NIL.
To me, right. And that's where I think, that's exactly where I think this is kind of an initial overreaction, because Clifford and those guys, there's like 7 of them, I think, coming up. The camp is free to the kids that are attending, right? Now, you look at the ad, and there's probably about 8 or 9 companies that are sponsoring and supporting the clinic, which all that means is they've all put money in to a cookie jar that's going to be split amongst those 7 Penn State kids that come up here to run the camp. That's an NIL deal. Again, I saw a thing on Facebook today. I think it was sold out. That's the difference. If the 3 of us go do a sport clinic of any sport, it doesn't even matter what it is, we are not selling it out in 3 days.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we could pull a couple of our athletes at Mid-Valley and put a tennis clinic together, right? We're not selling it out in Northeast PA in days. Why is it sold out in days? Because it's those Penn State kids, that these young kids, grades 4 to 8, that this camp is for, are flocking to go work with them and just be able to be within arm's reach of them.
I get to touch them. I'm that close.
And BS and get a picture with them and whatever. So that's name, image, likeness.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Outside of Sean Clifford, I'm not a Penn State fan. I know who Sean Clifford is, essentially because he's a Penn State quarterback. But I don't know those other guys. Let's take Trevor Lawrence when he was. People didn't know Trevor Lawrence because he was Clemson's quarterback. People knew Trevor Lawrence because he was really, really good as a quarterback. Yeah. That's on him.
Correct.
That's not. It wasn't the university. The NIL stuff just made him the ability to make money off of it, off of himself. So if you have a kid, say Matt Tanner's back in high school, he's got 10,000 Instagram followers. Has nothing to do with the fact that he's a Mid-Valley basketball player, Mid-Valley football player, Mid-Valley golfer, tennis player. It's because, I don't know, people like Matt Tanner, like, I don't know how he got it, but it wasn't because he was playing sports.
Right. And again, you go back, you had the Trevor Lawrence thing. You go back to Sean Clifford. Whoever's next in that role is going to come up to Riverfront and sell the clinic out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not happening to the Mid-Valley shortstop. It doesn't matter whether it's Zach Nemitz, whether it's Alex Varaxa, whether it's
Chris Rebar, Alex Priscilla.
Any of those guys. Just because they played the position at Mid-Valley shortstop.
Yeah.
The Penn State quarterback
that's
right.
How many, again, people are going to come just like this. I knew one of those guys, and I'm not saying Sean Clifford. Sean Clifford probably has minimal NFL potential, but he's a Penn State linebacker, so I'm going to come up to this clinic, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you could sell yourself on that. Like, and honest to God, before you started saying it, I didn't think about it like, technically it's name, image, and likeness, but I'm not sure. It's not because they play a sport for we'll go back.
It's them, their own personal brand.
London Montgomery is not. It's not because he's Scranton Prep's running back. It's because he's a supremely talented athlete.
Right.
That's on him.
On a much smaller scale, he's the Trevor Lawrence example.
Yeah.
Of
So again, like it's him. It's
not the next 8th grader. You got to come to Scranton Prep and run the ball because you're going to get what London got. No.
Yeah, it's him.
Right.
And I guess like I didn't think about it. It's not technically name, image, and likeness. Is you're the Penn State quarterback. You can make money for the 4 years while you're the Penn State quarterback, whether people know who you are or not.
Right. They're gonna know who you are.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
It's Penn State quarterback.
Right. And again, and in the college world, from a business standpoint, recruiting standpoint, Penn State would be stupid to ignore the fact that you leverage that to a recruit in some manner that obviously is going to toe the line in the rules of
absolutely
the NCAA.
Yeah. And I think, I feel like we're pretty like even keel. Like we're in the middle. I don't know. You could correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think any of us have.
I'm not strong either way.
Yeah. And it's like anything, right? So you said you saw some people.
I'm going to lean toward the athlete.
Yeah.
I want to see the
athlete
succed, and I think.
But like there are pitfalls.
The big
there's benefits.
I'm right in the middle.
But it's almost
I see
like
the bad in it also.
You said you saw social media posts or whatever one way or the other. It's almost like politics, right? You see one way or the other,
the far left or the far right.
But most people are in the middle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like that's a good way to leave this one.
I do.
I believe so.
All right.
It was a great episode.
It's been way too long. I don't remember. I don't know what episode number it is. It is what it is. But
damn, you're struggling.
It's been
phenomenal
3
shirt,
months.
Though. You've
Thank
been
you.
Struggling.
I thought we were supposed to be at the pool today, but appreciate.
I gotta find
Looks
the bug
like you have
guy.
a date with your boyfriend.
Appreciate Jack Kelly and Joby Fawcett for joining us. Can't appreciate their insights enough on the NIL deal, and we're gonna leave this one here. You got any final thoughts for I think the music's playing?
Yeah, just to make sure the next episode isn't another 3 months away.
That's true.
All.
Stay thirsty and get out to the gym, boys.
Go get that NIL money.
Stay hydrated.